This Wednesday, England will face Argentina in the World Cup semi-final. The two countries have a rich footballing rivalry. In 1966, Argentina's captain, Antonio Ratin, was sent off and refused to leave the pitch for several minutes. England manager Alf Ramsey afterwards called the Argentines, quote, animals, an insult the team and its fans have never forgotten. Then at the 1986 World Cup, Argentina beat England in the quarterfinals, in part thanks to Maradona's hand of God, where he scored with a handball unseen by the referee. The match I remember was at the 1998 World Cup, where David Beckham was sent off and we lost on penalties. However, the rivalry is about more than just football. So those were the scenes in the Argentine changing room after they beat Switzerland to win a place in Wednesday's semi-finals. And the chant goes, I want to see the fourth star sparkling on the jersey. So the fourth World Cup they would have won. I'm Argentine from the cradle to the grave. For the Malvinas and for Diego Maradona and for Leo's last World Cup, that's obviously Messi. Oh, Argentina, I want to see you world champions for the second time in a row. So you got Maradona, Messi, the Malvinas. What are the Malvinas? Well, to a Brit and to the residents, actually, of the islands. The Malvinas are the Falklands Islands. The Falklands are a British overseas territory, 300 miles off the coast of Argentina, which has been settled by Europeans since the 1600s. There wasn't anyone there to begin with, as far as we know. At various times, the islands have had French, British, Spanish, and Argentine settlements. Britain asserted its rule of the island in 1833, but it has been subject to an ongoing dispute, with Argentina also claiming sovereignty.
It would appear the sun has set on yet another corner of the British Empire, this one far down in the South Atlantic. Argentina today invaded and seized the Falkland Islands, which have been under British rule for nearly 150 years. Britain promptly broke diplomatic relations with Argentina, sent several of Her Majesty's warships steaming south, and appealed to the United Nations. It all seems like something out of the 18th century, but the British, and for that matter, the Americans, are not amused.
So that was a news report from 1982, just after the invasion of the Falklands by the military dictatorship then in charge of Argentina. They'd invaded the islands on the basis that the British would not defend an uneconomic outpost 8,000 miles away. But the Argentinian government had misjudged. Britain sent a naval task force to reclaim the island. And after a 10-week war, which left 649 Argentine and 255 British military personnel dead, along with 3 islanders, Britain retook the Falklands. And the big winner was this woman.
Be pleased to inform Her Majesty that the White Ensign flies alongside the Union Jack in South Georgia. God save the Queen.
What happens next?
Thank you very much.
What's your reaction,
rejoice at that news and congratulate our forces and the Marines.
Are we going
Good
to
night,
declare war
gentlemen.
on?
So Margaret Thatcher had been languishing in the polls amid high unemployment and inflation, but victory in that war saw her support soar. And in 1983, she rejoiced when she won an increased majority. Meanwhile, in Argentina, loss in the war brought forward the demise of the military junta and a transition to democracy. Ash, my question for you. We're both feeling rather patriotic today, aren't we? Come Wednesday, will you be cheering not just for Bellingham and Kane, but for the Falklands?
The Falklands haven't really been on my mind. I can't lie. They haven't really been on my mind here. I mean, we discussed this a little bit before we went live. And actually, when it comes to, who are the rightful possessors of the Falkland Islands, I think it's up to the people who live on the Falkland Islands. And I don't know why, but those mad bastards really want to be British. So that means I think they should remain a British overseas territory. And for me, that's the principle that I make the decision based on, right? The principle of self-determination. I do think there's an interesting question here, though, and really it's about the culture of football. And it's to what extent do you fold, historical and I suppose sometimes jingoistic themes into football rivalry. And I think that's always been a part of football culture, but it's interesting to me that particularly in England, that's something that the FA have tried to get rid of a bit. So you're not allowed to sing 10 German bombers anymore.
Because also, I always remember 1 World Cup, 2 World Wars
Yeah.
from when I was young, but that doesn't get chanted anymore as far as I can tell.
I chant it.
You chant it, okay.
I chant it, but
Maybe-
it's the sort of thing which is very much frowned upon. And so something which happened during this World Cup is, of course, the Norwegians had the row. And you had these right-wing commentators on X saying things like, well, they can celebrate their colonialism. Why can't we? And I would suppose that the rule of thumb here is that you have to consider a few things all at once. Morality. Now, I don't think that the Vikings were hugely moral colonizers, right? Neither were the English. So you're not going to win out on morality. How much time has elapsed? Obviously, Viking conquest of Europe is a lot further away than British colonialism or American chattel slavery. And also, I suppose, what kind of continuing impact it has on today's society. So I'd say on morality, but in terms of time gone by and continuing impact on today's society, the Viking conquest is a lot less noxious than British colonialism. But I don't think there should be this hard and fast rule of saying, well, you have to get rid of all of it. I mean, if international football is an expression of national identity, which it is, you are going to have elements of your national story folded into it. So I think that we should be able to sing 10 German bombers and 2 World Wars and 1 World Cup. I'm not going to be chanting about the Falklands unless I get super duper drunk, and then we'll see what I do.
I don't think there is a Falklands War chant, is there? Maybe we had one in the 80s. I've never heard one.
I mean, a friend of mine who was really drunk on Saturday night when it was clear that we'd be facing Argentina punched the air and said, "Sink the Belgrano." So some people
Ooh, that one is controversial because that's
that's basically a war crime.
So we should talk about this because I think lots of people will look at the Malvinas or the Falklands Island or whatever and say, this island is clearly right next to Argentina, right? Why the hell is it British? And there is obviously like a strong logic to that. And I'm definitely not passionate about Britain keeping the Falklands. But it's also not obvious why it should be Argentina's, because this isn't really a colonial thing. Like, Argentina is a settler colony. And there were people there. So if you've got a problem with sort of settler colonies, theirs is more problematic than the Falklands, because the Falklands was empty. And the people on the Falklands, about 3,000 of them, really want to remain part of the. So they're an overseas territory, which means they're self-governing, but their foreign policy is sort of absorbed within ours. So it's Britain's responsibility to defend them. And actually, this is another one of those examples where Britain tried to give it away. So in the 60s and the 70s, the British government thought that having this island was costly, and also it was screwing up their ability to trade with South American countries because there was this dispute. So they tried to give it to Argentina, but the people there really kicked up a fuss. Obviously, you might think, why can't we just stuff these 3,000 people's mouths with gold and they can come back to Britain or, go live in southern Spain or wherever. But they didn't want to do that. And so we did this war. And it's the Belgravia or the Belgrano.
Belgrano.
The Belgrano, that's the really controversial bit about the war, which is that Britain bombed a warship which was already sailing back to Argentina from the Malvinas. So that's the one where I think probably the most sort of middle of the road argument is to say defending the Falklands was fine if expensive, but bombing the Belgrano was bad.
Was a war crime. Look, I just sort of think that there are some people, and there are some people in this country who I think in the spirit of anti-colonialism will insist that the Falklands are the Malvinas, right? And Gary Lineker did. That's where I draw the line on my...
Yeah. So Gary Lineker is woker than Ash Sarkar.
Yeah, Gary Lineker is woker than me in this regard. I'm like, it's the Falklands, mate. I'm sorry.
Because the people who live there call it the Falklands. The Argentinians have no real claim to it beyond it being close. So, F Argentina. Let's get to the final. Come on, boys. No, I am fine with the Argentinians, but I do hope we win. There's obviously lots of corruption going on where VAR is constantly helping the Argentinian team. So I think it would be...
The conspiracy theory that I believe is that FIFA are doing everything in their power to engineer an Argentina versus France final. That's the conspiracy theory that I believe. And so I'm gonna say this, which is, Declan Rice, I don't like you and you don't like me. But if you have to snap someone's ACL, do it this Wednesday.
What's an ACL?
Anterior cruciate ligament.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah.
Okay, I might.
How's that worse than anything that anyone else has been saying?
I might say F the Argentines, but I'm not going to promote violence against someone's muscles.
No, not violence, just a reckless tackle.
Okay, let's go on to our next story. I don't really believe F the Argentines for any Argentines watching, or for anyone who just doesn't think that you should say F to any national identity, which I also believe. I'm a very liberal, open-minded, universalist guy.
Let's move on, man. I think the story's played out.